Scroll number 2. I measure my growth from the inside. Most people have no idea whether they are actually improving. They count the books they have finished, the courses they have completed, the credentials they have collected, and they call that progress. Epictetus was born a slave with nothing to collect and nowhere to display it, and he understood something that most free people with full shells never grasp. The only place real growth lives is inside you, in the part of you that no one else can see or measure. I have been guilty of this confusion. I have mistaken activity for progress. I have mistaken information for transformation. I have read the right things, listened to the right voices, taken the right notes, and walked away from all of it exactly the same person who sat down. That is not progress. That is performance. And I am done performing improvement for an audience that includes only myself. I measure my growth from the inside. Real progress has one test and one test only. When something difficult happens today, when a plan falls apart, when someone treats me unfairly, when I do not get what I wanted, how do I respond? Not what do I say about it later. Not how do I explain it. How do I actually respond in the moment, in the body, in the first unguarded second before I have had time to compose myself? That response is the full and honest measure of where I am. Epictetus did not ask his students how many texts they had read or how many arguments they could recite. He asked a simpler and harder question. Show me how you handle your desires and your fears. Show me what happens when you want something and cannot have it. Show me what happens when you face something you have been trying to avoid. That is the only evidence of progress that means anything. Everything else is decoration. This is uncomfortable to sit with because it removes every easy substitute. I cannot point to a certificate. I cannot show a highlight reel. I cannot describe what I have learned and have that count as proof. The proof is in the response. The proof is in whether I meet difficulty with steadiness or with panic. The proof is in whether I stay whole when something I did not choose arrives at my door. I measure my growth from the inside. I have spent too long measuring myself against external markers that were never measuring the right thing. The number of hours I worked, the size of what I built, the recognition I received. These are not nothing, but they are not progress in the sense that matters. They are weather. They shift. They disappear. What does not disappear is the quality of the person who shows up regardless of the weather, who meets every condition with the same steadiness, who does not need the outcome to be favorable in order to function well. I measure my growth from the inside. Progress, Epictetus said, is not found in books. It is found in a life, specifically in the quality of a life when things do not go as planned. When I rise in the morning without certainty about how the day will unfold and I meet that uncertainty without dread, that is progress. When I pursue a goal with full effort and do not collapse if the result does not come, that is progress. When someone I respect offers criticism and I can receive it without shutting down or fighting back, that is progress. None of these moments are visible. None of them appear in any record, but they are the only record that matters. I measure my growth from the inside. The person I am building is not a collection of achievements. It is not a resume or a reputation or a list of things I have done. It is a way of meeting the world. It is a quality of attention, a quality of response, a quality of presence in the moments when presence is hard. Every time I choose steadiness over panic, every time I let go of what I cannot control and return my energy to what I can, every time I act from my values instead of my fear, I am making real progress. not the kind anyone can see, the kind I can feel. There is a discipline required here that most people never attempt. It is easy to track what is visible. It is much harder to be honest about what is not. It is harder to sit down at the end of a day and ask not what I produced but how I moved through it, whether I was ruled by my reactions or whether I chose them. That daily honesty, unglamorous and unwitnessed, is the actual practice. This is what I am building, not an image, not an argument for my own worthiness. A life that functions well from the inside regardless of what the outside looks like on any given day. A version of myself that is not dependent on favorable conditions in order to be calm. Not dependent on recognition in order to feel real. Not dependent on outcomes in order to keep going. I measure my growth from the inside. Epictetus taught from a small rented room with no possessions and no status. His students included people who would go on to advise emperors. The room did not make him. The lack of it did not diminish him. He was the same person in the room as he would have been outside it, because the thing he had built was entirely interior. That is the model. That is what I am working toward. Something so solid inside that the outside conditions become almost irrelevant. The work is never finished. There is no point at which I will have arrived and can stop. Every day brings a new test, a new moment that will ask, who are you actually? Not who do you say you are. Who are you right now, in this moment, when it costs something to be the person you claim? I meet that question with how I act, not with what I say. I measure my growth from the inside, not by what I have gathered, by who I am when gathering is not possible, not by how things look, by how I hold myself when they look nothing like I planned, not by the noise I make, by the quality of my silence when silence is all I have. I measure my growth from the inside. I measure my growth from the inside. I measure my growth from the inside.